Hello and welcome back. By definition, every game needs certain guidelines that determine when a game is won or the goal either is or is not reached. Therefore, in this part, we will logically integrate the winning conditions into our project with the help of so-called switch statements. After that, it is theoretically already playable. So be sure you've watched the previous episodes, and now let's get started. Hi, I'm a part-time indie developer and illustrator. I've gained my knowledge through thousands of online tutorials, and now I want to give something back and share these skills with you. If you like these videos, subscribe to the channel to not miss new videos coming up, and if you want to support me, check out my website that contains my published games and a detailed dev blog and much more, or hit me up on Twitter. In our sprites folder. Yeah, let's grab this white box, drag it onto our museum, and in here we can just go in the scene view and create a tiny space. Add a box collider 2D onto it. Shortly check if it's okay from the size. Yes, it is. Let's set it a trigger. So this is going to be our tunnel that where we need to go to deliver the artwork later on. Tunnel is usually a bit darker. Let's make it somehow still stand out. I'm going with this orange color. Yep. And rename it to escape tunnel. Make a tiny script for our tunnel and call it escape tunnel. We can already, after Unity compiled, drag it onto the tunnel. And we want to activate this tunnel as soon as it becomes nighttime. So by default, I'm going back to my quest script. I'm going to create a new public game object tunnel, and I'll set tunnel at the start to false. That was the reason, capital S, to false. So the tunnel game object will be set active false at the beginning, and we will activate it as soon as our timeout is starting. So in start robbery, somewhere after the boss announcement, we'll set it to true. Here we go. And then still wait 2 seconds, and then the player can move again. So in here, the game controller got a new field that says tunnel. I'm gonna drag the escape tunnel in here. Here we go. And you can see setting objects active and disabling them is both indicated on this tiny check mark. But not on the game object, of course, on the escape tunnel. So if I uncheck it, it will also disappear from the scene and no script will be executed. And if I check it again, we will see it. So because we set active to false at the beginning, it should disappear as soon as we start and appear when the timeout kicks in. So nothing here, and here we go. After the timeout, we can see the tunnel pop up. Another thing that I saw that is our client text that is always displaying as client text. So let's in start also say the client text. We don't have a variable yet for it, so let's create one. We have the timer text in here, and let's make a public text client text. And I spelled this one, so right, the client text. Let's set it to nothing at the beginning so that we don't see this ugly client text placeholder. So it's enough to just leave an empty space in here or nothing at all. So previously we had always client text written here. Of course we need to assign it. we got a new empty field here, the client text, and let's put it inside. It's under canvas client text. Here we go, and it should simply disappear. And it does. Perfect. So nice. And I can move again after 2 seconds. And what happens now, if I enter an painting, I can still see all the stuff, and that was the reason why I made this isNight variable. So we want to display nothing in here as soon as it turns out to be night, so the player has to remember all the stuff, otherwise it would be way too easy. So let's go into our, I guess it was my paintings function script. Yes, it was. So if we go on trigger enter, we will display an artwork, and we can now simply say, because we created this isNight boolean that is static in our quest script, we can say if something enters the trigger and it is actually the player, and in our quest script isNight is false, you can either say this through this way, or a little bit simplified with an exclamation mark at the beginning. Alright, so bam. And we also had the drag around, so let's shortly check if this one already works. So of course during daytime it's no problem, I can enter, and now if I go in, nothing happens anymore because it's night and we set it to work like this. But if I press space, I can drag it around. That's cool. Perfect, works. And I think I can already drag it around if it's daytime. Yep, and that's something I would like to prevent. So let's say all the stuff that is happening when I want to drag stuff around, let's only make this happen when it actually is night. So quest.isNight is true. So this will prevent, let's change slightly the timer up so I can show it more easily. But 5 seconds is okay. And if I go now to my painting and I press space, nothing happens. But as soon as it turns night, I can go there and I don't see the image anymore, and I can grab it and drag it around. And I can only do this with one. Remember not to be too greedy. We have one little bug that I'd like to show you. So when I start and I enter during daytime and I'll stay within this field and it turns night, yep, you can see the image is still visible. But to prevent this, we can go into our painting functions again, and you remember we have this on trigger stay 2D, and we already check if the compare tag is a player, and we have the input key space, and it's night. Now let's do another question. So else if the collision compare tag is player and we are not pushing any key, but it's actually night. Here we go, we just copy and paste it. Then we want to display the no artwork. Alright, so during daytime this is not going to happen. We can always go and stay inside our painting and it will display the correct image. But as soon as it turns night and we're colliding with the player, we will show the no artwork. So you remember we had this bug. When I walk in and it turns night, then now it works. Perfect. And we can grab the stuff and we can deliver it, but nothing happens yet here. Let's first of all define a condition for winning or losing. We can make the client ask for a specific artwork. Let's do this also in our quest script. Okay, let's go down, and somewhere here we can make a new public void check delivered artwork. And this will take in the parameter artwork, and we call it delivered artwork. Alright, so if we call this function, we also need to pass in an artwork variable into it. So let's first of all make a debug.log that says checking artwork. Yeah, we have a delivered artwork in here that always must be sent with the check delivered artwork method. To check if the delivered artwork is the correct one, we need kind of a correct answer to check on. So let's go up here, and we can create an correct simple int for a correct artwork index. So this will be the index of the correct artwork, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and whatever. And we also need some customer needs. We can make this a public string, or let's say a public string array, like we did it before with the game objects. We can now make multiple strings in here. I'll call this customer needs. Okay. So if we save this and go back into Unity, we'll have on our game controller another customer needs panel that we can click on, and let's for the start make only 3 of them, and let's have a look shortly on our artworks. So we have the one that says no, this is the default one, but all the others. So let's say we want one artwork to be from this year. So I'm looking for art from 1943. And the other one, I know we have a Japanese artist, the Hokusai. I only collect Japanese artists' work. And we have one that's only collecting work from female artists. I adore female artists. Get me artwork. Okay, this might sound a little bit generic, but it doesn't matter. It's just for, yeah, that we can work with it. So you can see here we have only one valid answer, which is the one piece from Marc Chagall that is made 1943. Then we have only one valid answer for the Japanese artist's work. That's the one from Hokusai. And we have several female artists displayed in here, and how we're going to handle this is not a big deal. Okay. As soon as it turns night and the timeout happens, we start the robbery. And in here we can, right after we, or before, it doesn't really matter, just before the player can move again, let's define what our client is looking for. And to not always have the same request done by the client, we can randomize what artwork we want to display. So let's set the artwork index we've created previously to a random.range between 0 and the length of our customer needs. The length. At this point, I've unfortunately made a mistake. I use random.range with ints. That means the maximum is exclusive. If we make a random range with integers, let's assume a is 0 and b is 3, we will get 0, 1 or 2 as a possible result, because b, which is 3, is exclusive. If we would use floats, for example c and d, with a value of 0.0f and 1.0f, then it would be inclusive. That means we could get any decimal number between 0.0 and 1.0 including, of course, float d, which is 1.0. So in the code from now on, you will see that there is -1 written. So ignore that and stick with what you have right now. We can also shortly do a debug log. Let's again reduce the timer a little bit for testing. Here we go, 2 seconds pass. And yeah, it's 1. Let's play again, see if we get something else. Yeah, this time it's 0. Nice. So back in our script, this seems to work fine. I got rid of the debug. Now we still need a delivered artwork that we can check in here. We already have something that we can compare with, but we actually need the artwork. That's why I created the escape tunnel script. Let's open it. And in here, we actually don't need these. First of all, we're going to make a tiny accessor for our quest script so that we can access this script from within this one. And we do this on the void on enable. As soon as the tunnel gets enabled, it will call this, and we can assign the quest script to B. We're searching now our hierarchy for the game controller to find the quest script that sits on the game controller and access it. So we do this by GameObject.find GameObject with tag. Where do we have it? Right here. And we have it called game controller. And then we call get component of type quest. Yeah. So this will access the quest class from within this script. Let's save it. Go to our game controller, and you see we're looking for the tag, and our game controller is yet untagged. So we give it the tag game controller. And if you don't have this one, just go to add tags, and in here the tag list you can press the plus sign and give it a name. I'm gonna call it just name. When I now go back to the game controller, I can give it the tag name, but we of course choose game controller. So let's just check if our escape tunnel has the escape tunnel script. Yes. And now let's test if our quest got assigned correctly. So if quest is not equal null, this means that it checks if the quest is still nothing. If it's not nothing, that means this worked. We can say simply debug.log quest reference found. Else we can copy this, paste it in here, and say quest reference not found. Let's see what it says. Yeah, worked out. So we found the quest reference. All right, let's get rid of this. You remember the onTrigger stay. Let's do this again here. onTrigger stay 2D. Don't forget the 2D. And now let's check if our collision.transform.compare tag is the player. So it's actually the player who walks on this escape tunnel. And we give it again an input .get key down. And again, it's our space button. And of course, we could also check here, as we did, I think it was in the quest script, or was it in the painting function? It was in the painting function, if it's night. But our escape tunnel anyway gets activated after it's night, so we don't need to do that check. We also did something else with the player. Here it is. We checked if our player has a child, which means if our player is holding a painting. Let's just go in here, copy this whole thing, bring it up here. If it's less than 0, this means we're not carrying anything around. Then we can debug.log please hurry and bring me the painting. And else, if we actually have a child, which means we're carrying around the painting, we will do quest dot, and now we can check delivered artwork. And where's the artwork that we have to pass in that is needed by our function here? We can access it now by going to the player, so collision transform or collision game object, and then get component in children, painting function, and we access the artwork from in there. Alright, so what is this doing? We're getting a reference to our game controller quest script, and we call this function. But we call it not from inside here, we call it from onTriggerStay when we press the space button and if the player is having a child. And we check if the collision game object, which is our player, and we get a component in children, which would be the one painting that he's carrying around. So let's play it shortly and show it to you. Okay, now I can move around. I grab it. Let's pause this quickly. We have the player and he has a child and it's the painting Hopper. And in here we're accessing the painting function script and we're checking the artwork of it. So we get the component of painting function and we're checking the artwork. Everything is correct. We are checking the delivered artwork with the artwork that the player is bringing to the tunnel. And at the moment we only do checking the artwork, but let's see if it works. We go up here, we entered the trigger and we press space and we're checking the artwork. Perfect. Now we want to check if the delivered artwork is really the right one. We do this, we could do it basically with a if-else statement, but we can simplify this with a so-called switch case. In this switch case we can simply check a value. For example, we take our correct artwork index that was defined up here, and let's say we will delete this. If our correct artwork index it's 0, for example, let's say we get out 0. So if the case is 0, later on we break out of this loop. If the correct artwork index is 0, so it's the case is 0, then we can check if the delivered artwork dot artist or dot art, whatever, but let's take the artist equals to, and now we can just copy and paste the artist from our artwork 1. That is basically the 0th element. We see here in customer needs, 0 is I'm looking for art from 1943, Marc Chagall. So let's copy this, just paste it in here. We are asking for the index 0 and the delivered artwork is 0, then we have done everything right. Let me just complete this shortly. So we can say debug.log correct answer. Now, if the delivered artwork's artist is not Marc Chagall, it's someone else, then we delivered the wrong one, and we will just print for now that we have got the wrong artwork. And now it's super easy. We can just come here, copy it and paste it down here. So if, for example, our random range gives us 1, then the correct answer would be, let's check what we're asking. We're asking for I only collect Japanese artists. So let's see, here we have Marc Chagall, and here he is, Hokusai. We can copy here the artist's title, the artist's name, and if it's 1, the delivered artwork must be Hokusai, and if he's not, then the answer is wrong. Let's go for our third one. And here we have a little bit of a special case. So if our case is 2, let's see what happens. We are looking for female artists, and we have a couple of them, I think. Sophie Teuber-Arp, she's one, and Alma Del Banco, that's it. Okay, we have 2. So let's go. We have Sophie Teuber-Arp, copy paste it in here. And now we heard before of the and we could now say put here another one. I don't know who, but we're not asking for and, we're asking for or, and or is with the option key down twice the number 7 on my Mac keyboard. And you can just check on the internet how you make this sign. And this means if the delivered artwork is either Sophie Teuber-Arp or I think the other one was Alma Del Banco, then we have 2 options that would be correct, and if it's none of these, we're going to have a wrong artwork delivered. Okay, let's see if our game works. I saved this. I'm going into my game mode, wait for Unity to compile. Now I have to wait 2 seconds. Okay, so I only collect Japanese artists' work, and I have no idea where I've put Hokusai. Let's go down and take this one. Okay, I'm entering the trigger and I'm delivering by pressing space. I did the correct one. Let's see if... Oh yeah, it's true. It's Hokusai. It's the correct answer. So let's play another round. See what he requests now. Again. But let's now pick a wrong one. That's basically because we only have 3 possible answers. So we picked another one, we are going and we deliver, and yep, it's the wrong answer.
Honestly, at this point you should be really proud of yourself. In the next and last part of this Unity Beginner series, we will learn how to restart our game after we have delivered a piece of art. And as an extra, we will pimp the whole thing by animating our characters. Last but not least, we will export the game so you can play it on your PC or Mac like every other real computer game. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Ask me questions in the comments and have a great day.